Hey, welcome aboard. How's everybody doing? Okay, give me a second. I got my my Amazon speaker was acting up yesterday. It's not showing up, so I think I got to turn it on and off. I go through this every couple days. It still works, and until it dies, I'm going to keep using it. Yeah, I don't really know what to say, but it uh it did it once where it crashed like this, I think it was. And when I finally got it hooked back up, I had to, because I couldn't remember. This is something I should remember. It's got to do with what's going on. It's something I should be able to remember, even though I haven't done it in a while. I had to look up where to go and turn it on because the thing where I could go, I could basically say its name and it would wait for me to give it an order. That was gone. That was turned off, and it basically happened when it crashed like that. Well, the other day, I was trying to use it, and as soon as I tried to link to it, it crashed, and it wasn't even showing up on my. And I could talk to it. Like if I talked to it, it would respond. So if I wanted to listen to music or I wanted to basically listen to my stream, but I but if I wanted to listen to music or do other things, it would listen to me. It was working. It's just the Bluetooth had shut off, and I didn't realize it yesterday. But I'm thinking, it's like I knew like, well, God, when this happens, I just have to go hit a button and it comes back on. Uh, okay, now what I'm gonna do is I am going to. I'm gonna play Diablo, and I'm just gonna talk off the cuff about UFOs. It's just gonna be general stuff. Some of it is current stuff, so you may be interested. And then what I think I'm gonna do is when Minecraft comes up, if I do Minecraft. Yesterday I did not stream, and I apologize. But I went to the grocery store, and I wasn't feeling great, but the food I feed the cats for breakfast was going to run out, and they've really been pretty good. You know, it's been they one of them peed on the carpet I think last week. Well, they've been both been really good ever since. So I don't want them to think they're being punished when they've been being good. So I went out to get the food, and I was feeling it. And I even went and used the little motorized cart, which helped. If I'd have been walking, I think I'd have been fucked. And then when I came home, I didn't stop for anything to eat. I just got home, and I was still doing okay. I could feel it though. It was one of those things where, it wasn't like a light switch going off. I could feel this coming. It's like when you can just see that. It's kind of like that Monty Python movie where they could see the guy running, and then they could see the guy running, then the dude ran up and fucking slit their throats. It was kind of one of those deals, and that happens. And on some level, maybe I shouldn't have went, but I really needed to get the shit. And well, then when I got home, my brother had to go in. He had clotting issues on Thursday, so he had to go in for an extra dialysis. I don't know why, because when they've had this happen before, they just basically push it to Saturday, because it's he goes like 3 times a week. He goes like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Well, he ended up going yesterday, and then he ended up going today, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's gonna be extra drained and real shitty tonight. But I got home. I was the only one here, so I had to bring the groceries in there. Now there's some stuff, and I think all it is a bag of cat litter, 20-pound bag. I left that out there, but I made 2 trips and I got everything in. Well, I came in to stream. I got something to eat. I snacked on light vegetable stuff. No, I had a Twinkie, that's what it was. But I got something to eat, and it was just, I sat here with my feet up for a while. It was just not getting any better. And I figured I'd just go lay down on the bed. I figured, well, if I put my feet up, I put my head down. Oh, shit, I fell asleep in the bed with my feet on. And then my brother had come home before I woke up. But the thing is, I took a little bit longer to go to sleep. But then what happened is I slept until normal. So even though I slept for 3 or 4 hours yesterday in the afternoon, I still slept my normal shit at night, maybe like an hour less or 2 hours less. Because there's a lot of nights where I would fall asleep like, 8 to 10 o'clock, sometimes earlier. I've been getting those. But, I slept like almost normal last night once I finally got to sleep. But
not enough spirit.
But what I'll do for Minecraft, and I won't be able to, nobody really chats that much, but I will not be able to monitor, and I might change my mind, but right now the plan is I will watch, I think it's the newest episode of Ancient Aliens. Like, this whole season, for me, it's a waste, because what they're doing is, even the ones I haven't seen, I'm like, oh my god, instead of wasting your money making a new episode, why don't you just rerun the other episodes? Because what they're doing is, they're not making any new shows, and I'm wondering if they're waiting. Maybe they decided to do that. They figured, why waste the money making new shows when maybe this year the government is going to disclose, and we'll find out, maybe some of the stuff we've been told is a lie. That's what I'm kind of wondering. And but what they're doing, and like the one, I think it's the one from Friday night, or I don't know. I think it's the latest one that I've got recorded to watch, and I'll have to find it. But it's like, what they'll do is, it's like, oh, the top 10 islands, or the top 10 forbidden text, or shit like that, and then they'll go over it. Well, this one here was the top 10 craft or something like that. And what I can do is, and then that way it'll kind of abate maybe the memory issues. I was remembering a lot of shit. None of it was useful to fucking me. I was remembering a lot of shit this morning. I was pretty active on Threads. And but I can kind of go and I can just kind of comment on it, and because it'll spark a memory, or I can listen to it, pause it, and kind of talk about it. Because I was watching it, even though they're new, I don't watch it when it's on. Like, I just throw something on, try to go to sleep if I can. 'Cause I want to say it's on like 9-10 o'clock, and I can usually be asleep by then. And I'm not fighting, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fight to stay awake. With the shit going on with my health when it's a fucking rerun. At least half of every one of these I've seen, it's ones I've seen. And like this one here, they got talking about, I think it's Kexford, Pennsylvania, and I might have the name wrong, but it was like a modern day Roswell, and I remember that one, you know, and I'll be able to talk about that. And some of the other ones are ones that I've seen before and stuff like that. And but it'll spark my memory. It'll give me something to focus on, and I can maybe do a good stream. And then maybe there's people out there that haven't seen it, and they'll enjoy it. I really hope. I know since I've been doing these UFO talks, it's like I get a few more people coming in and checking it out. I hope you stick around. Hope you watch it. Maybe go check me out on YouTube. But the thing is, and if I can, now if it's a day like yesterday, ain't gonna happen. But if I can, and everything's working, and I'm not coughing, I'm feeling good, what I will do is when they do that UFO hearing this week at the 26th, and don't ask me, I think it's Wednesday, but don't ask me for sure what day it is, I will absolutely try to do a stream. I won't be able to show it because I don't want to get, and you know, like the thing is, it's a congressional hearing. I should be able to show it. But what you can do is, if you want to check it out, you can turn me on. I mean, you don't have to. You can just go watch the UFO thing. I won't be offended. I literally won't. But you can go just watch the UFO hearing yourself. But if you want, you can turn me on, and you might like, oh man, he's full of shit. I know all about this. My uncle saw it, or oh my God, he doesn't know anything. And I do kind of feel bad about it, but that one guy down in Indiana, it was like a friend of somebody, or it was either a friend or an acquaintance of some, because I didn't know him. He knew somebody I knew, and he was like, oh, my daddy, and I'm exaggerating. I don't think he said the word daddy, but he was talking about his dad being in the military. And all I'm going to say, and it's an exaggeration, it is absolutely an exaggeration. But I go, oh, so your dad was stationed on the Battlestar Galactica, which was in dock with the Death Star on the far side of the moon. I'm exaggerating, but it's literally not that much of an exaggeration. And it was Indiana, so I can't tell you. I don't know if his dad was just fucking with him, if his dad was like fucking insane. That was my impression. But some of the stuff that this guy said, and I'm going to be completely honest, I still don't know. It still sounds fucking crazy to me. But when it is being reported by some good journalists that there are top-ranked, high-classified intelligence people who have come forward to back up like Grouch, and they're like, yeah, people have been killed to cover up the UFO thing. And then they're saying, yeah, these UFO retrieval things were real. I mean, these people don't seem fucking... That guy did. He sounded mentally unstable. For all I know, it runs in the family. It was Indiana. I don't know. You got to think, this is the state that brought us Mike Pence. You know, this is the state that brought us Mike Pence. You know, the guy that, when Donald Trump was asking him to basically throw the election towards him when he was president of the Senate, he was told repeatedly by everybody except for Santa Claus and the fucking Easter Bunny that, oh no, you can't do that. He finally went to Dan Quayle. Dan Quayle. You don't know him. He was the vice president on George Bush Sr., George Bush's dad, when he was president. He was basically known as kind of a numbskull. I mean, this is a guy, he was at a, and again, I'm not a good speller. But I don't think I have ever tried to correct somebody unless I was 100% sure. But he was at a spelling bee, and the kid spelled potato. It was either that or it was a classroom, but it was like with kids. And the kid spelled potato right, and the Vice President of the United States started telling him to add letters to it, and everybody was looking at him like, that's not how you spell potato. But yeah, he went to the Vice President of, the 88 to 92 or the 96 to 2. No, it was 88 to 92. He was vice president under President George H.W. Bush. And it's like, and that guy even said, Captain Fuck Up. I mean, that guy even said, yeah, there's just no way you can do that. It's like, and I hate to say it, this pisses me off about Mike Pence, because he actually makes me have to look at, Quayle and go, oh my God, thank God Quayle was there to save us. This is something that nobody should ever say in their life, but it's kind of true. I mean, when Dan Quayle is your intellectual savior of your country, this is the time where you gotta really worry, hey, are our days numbered? Are we fucking done? I don't know. Well, anyways,
I don't have enough spirit.
but they got this hearing coming up, and the thing I've heard by certain people is that okay, here we go.
I heard you were in town, hero. Should have known you'd show up in time for a...
They don't have the security clearance.
This cannot be opened yet.
Okay, we gotta get the cursed shrines. Come on, let's go, baby.
I need spirit.
But, they got that going on. And this is the thing, and I gotta tell you, this should tell you how fucking cool. I mean, if you follow me at all, especially the people, and I try to, here's the thing, I know I'm a little political, but you guys have no idea how much I fucking lowball it and try to nerf it, because this is my gaming channel, not my political channel. Well, it's now my UFO channel, because that's what I've been talking about when I do these. Hey, face it, I'm just not that good of a gamer, so I gotta find some other way to have people get interested in shit. But, if you know my politics, it'll kind of tell you how cool I think this guy is to say anything nice about him. Because this is a guy, and I tweeted out to him. I tweeted out to him that, hey, you're a Republican, so we're probably not going to agree on too much. And I flat out told him that I honestly, firmly believe that until his party wants to address the criminals and traitors, terrorists in his party, I don't think that anybody should give any Republican any... I sincerely mean that. There was a time, this was back, I think, while Bush was in office. There's a guy, I've known him, I went to school with his little brother. Me and his little brother are the same age. He's my middle brother's age. And this guy, and here's the thing, if you want to, you can say what you want, but it's the medical downside of marijuana. And he smokes a lot of pot, and he was going on about Bush this and Bush that, and all fuck the Democrats and all this bullshit. And the thing is, after, like when Bush got in there, now I didn't vote for him. I didn't encourage people to vote for him. I fucking hated President George W. Bush long before it was cool, before it was fashionable. I thought he was a fucking moron. I thought he wasn't qualified. I thought that he had stolen the election because of what the Supreme Court did. And that's been borne out. I mean, again, nobody wants to talk about it that's in power. It's kind of like the third rail for Democrats. But they should be making a case that 5 unelected Republican justices on the Supreme Court stole the election from Gore. That's just not something that's deniable. There were some reporters that went down and got the ballots and counted it. And if they had counted it like the last judge in Florida, the Florida Supreme Court, they basically stated how it should be counted, and they counted it 10 different ways, and that was one of them. Well, when they counted it the way it should have been counted when it got to the Supreme Court, Gore won. Gore got more votes.
I need
And
spirit.
they counted it, my understanding, and if I'm not remembering this, I apologize. So again, this is one of those things where you don't have to trust me on this. If you care, try to look it up. You might be able to find it. But as I remember it, they counted it 10 different ways, and the only way where Bush won is where they counted it like Gore wanted it, like Gore's campaign wanted it counted. They wanted it counted just like 1 or 2 counties. They did not want the whole state recounted. And if you only recounted those 2 states, that's the only way George Bush won. In all the ones where they recounted either most or all of the state by the varying standards on the little hanging chads, Gore won. That's just the way it was. And you go and look at the way the Supreme Court has been since. They, it wasn't, oh, well, we got to make sure the votes are counted. They had a case that came to them where there was clearly racist shit going on at the state level. And redistricting, voter suppression, whatever. It was like one of them, it was like a modern day poll tax where they were basically finding a way to give like an intelligence test or some other bullshit to black voters so that they wouldn't be able to vote. And what happened was they basically said, oh, the federal courts can't get involved in state courts. State elections, that's all the state. Well, okay, where was that? I'll get off of this, but this really pisses me off. It's like, oh, they're going to do that. It's like, okay, well, you guys went and overturned Roe v. Wade. 50, 60, 70 years. You've gone and overturned gun laws that were good, well-respected, wanted by law enforcement. They kept the bad guys at bay. You went and overturned them that have been around for like 100 years. If you're saying that federal courts should not get involved, then why don't you go overturn that Gore v. Bush decision, strip Bush of his Secret Service detail, his fucking pension, and, basically throw out his 3 Supreme Court judges and let Gore pick 3. Let Gore pick 3 and go, yeah, we'll just you pick 3 good ones and we'll give them a nod and they're in. Because that was wrong. We're not going to let the Republicans fuck around with them in the Senate like they normally do. You just pick 3, and if they meet the gold standard of the Bar Association, there's like a thing that they do, and it's considered like, and usually with Democrats, that's where they start. They get like some kind of gold standard from the Bar Association. And Democrats, when they're looking for somebody, what they do is that's where they start. Oh, okay, well, he's got that good. We can consider him. Now let's look what he's done. With Republicans, what they do is if they meet that gold standard for the bar, and it ain't much, but if they meet that gold standard for the bar, then what they do is, oh, good, case closed. We got a guy. Slap him up there, run him through. And then you get people like that Judge Cannon who are basically just being overturned by the conservative 11th Circuit going, yeah, what she did has no basis in law or fact. You're not supposed to do that as a judge. You definitely shouldn't be doing it for somebody that fucking appointed you to being a judge. I'll go back this way. Well, anyways, but they're going to do that. And but this guy from Tennessee, there gives you an example, so then pay attention to what I'm saying. That guy from Tennessee, now granted, he's got piss poor taste in colleagues And I think it reflects on his judgment. But I gotta say, how the fuck? I'm gonna go this way and see if I get it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna give this up and go to Minecraft maybe. But because I'm not sure I can get to the arrow on this one. But they're going to have this hearing. Well, I got to be honest with you. Some of the stuff that he has said, like somebody made a comment that like, well, because he goes, I've seen classified videos. I can't talk about them. And I think what he did, he maybe stepped over the line because he shouldn't have even been able to mention them. But he said he's seen classified videos from like the military, and he goes, these things are just so far beyond what we can do. Oh, and I just want to throw this out while I'm on the subject. It's one of the, I think it's one of the ones that was on that Ancient Aliens that was just recorded, the top 10. Well, either that or it was on The Proof Is Out There, because I watched that one this morning too. But there was a video, and they were doing it again for this one, and they were saying, oh, well, you know, you get these claims of UFOs and they're not in focus and blah, blah, blah. And what happens is if the picture isn't in frame and the light hits it, and there's a name for it, bokeh or something like that. And what happens is the light blurs out the image into the shape that is the iris open. And so they were doing it again. Well, they didn't use the guy. His name's Mick West, and I really do not respect him as a debunker. And I don't think he's a scientist. I think he writes for like a science magazine. And I might be wrong. I do not know what his credentials are, but he writes occasionally for like Science Magazine. And I thought they had really gotten rid of him because of some of the just fucking crazy shit that he had said. I will give him this, though. I called and complained on him, and I go, well, you know, he's making this claim, and I go, his stuff that he says just doesn't seem credible. I go, it's really reminding me of the stories when I was a kid that I heard, like, you know, not the 70s. I heard about them in the 80s, but I go, you had the lead scientist for Project Blue Book, Dr. Hynek, and you had professors, you had learned people that would go and tell you, oh my God, the excuses that Dr. Hynek gave as to why this stuff wasn't real. The one guy said, he goes, if you were a first year physics student and you gave that to an answer, you'd fail, you'd flunk. And the one guy said, he goes, and I'm not sure that there wouldn't be certain teachers that would just kick you out of the program if you gave an answer that bad. And I mentioned that, you know, that's what a lot of his shit sounds like. It sounds like some of those just crazy fucking answers. What in the fuck?
I am returning.
You know what? I am not going to try and get over there. Just to give you an example, I got to go over here, and I've been all around here, and there's no way to get to it. I'm not going to, there's nothing. I got to fuck around here and either go way down here and around, or I got to go way up here and around. Yeah, I'm not fucking around with this. Screw it. Okay. I think that's the one I did. But and they were talking about that, and they're like, well, you when you get this can sometimes happen, and so, you know, like if the shutter closes in the shape of a triangle or a diamond, you'll get a diamond. If it closes in the shape of a triangle, you'll get a triangle. If it closes in the shape of a hexagon, you'll get a hexagon. And this one does close in a triangle. And so they write it off as case closed. Now that one I don't really know that much about. But with like the Mick West one, and you know, he just makes these comments, well, okay, well, if he's going to do that, he should be able to show, he should be able to go out and show you. He should be able to go out with that type of camera and something similar and show you how it's out of focus, because what if it's an autofocus? He didn't seem to know. He didn't say too much about the camera, so I'm thinking he didn't know. What if it didn't have a triangle shutter? Because the one in question on that, it was military people that saw it, and he just throws it on. And to me, this is just sloppy work. But he just throws it up there. Oh, well, you know, when the shutter closes, if it's shaped like a triangle, you're just going to get triangles. And that's like, well, wait a minute. That should be focused on the center of the thing. And because this thing was moving all over, it was moving from the center to the side and whatnot. It was not centered the whole time. Well, and other people back me up, because I wasn't 100% sure, but they're like, well, yeah, if that's what it is and it's moving around, then that triangle should be affected as it moves around. It should not remain constant as it moves around. And then the other thing is, he completely dismissed the military witnesses who said they saw it with their naked eye and it was a triangle. This was not what he said it was. But I made the comment, I go, well, then he should be getting the exact camera that's used. If he really wants to be taken seriously, because I go, there's some ghost busting shows that, you know, I've watched like once in a great while when my brothers got them on. And I go, or they're on YouTube and they show up in my feed and there's just nothing else on to watch. But I go, what they do is they go somewhere and they don't just go there like Mick West and say, oh, well, here's what it is, case closed, let's move on. Pay me, and pay me History Channel. And what they do is they go there, they take a look at the picture. And each one of them, I don't know that they're necessarily experts on anything, but they've got some experience in different aspects of that. And then what they do is they try to create it. They go to the exact location. They try to create it. And if they get something that is close or almost identical, well, then they figure, yeah, okay, this might have been fake. But most of the time what they do is they go there and they put the effort in. They absolutely put the effort in, and then at the end of it, they're like, yeah, we couldn't get anything even close to that, so we don't know, but we can't disprove it. And you know, and so they did. Now they did another one where there was something, and I'll give him credit for this. And in History Channel, he probably didn't do it on his own. He's probably put up to it by the History Channel, but he actually did that. There was a claim he was making. And he actually tried to show it. Now, it did not look exact, but it looked, you know, again, I don't think that that's necessarily was, but at least what he did was sort of in the ballpark. I don't think it looked exactly enough where you could completely debunk it, but see, that's good. Because then that way you can show people, it's like, yeah, we got Mick West, he's a professional debunker, and he could not make anything that looked exact. He could sort of get close on like a scale of 1 to 10. I think he was like a 2 or a 3, but they can show that, you know. And
my master has
but anyways, they brought that up. Well, here on this one, he did not take into account the military observers, military witnesses, who basically said, yeah, this thing was a triangle. We saw it. It was a triangle.
I must wait
and,
to use that ability. It is not ready yet. Not enough spirit.
shall perish in flames.
That ability is not yet recharged.
But that's what this guy was saying. Well, again, I don't know this picture, but you know, he discounted all the, I mean, like, and it wasn't like one or two people. It wasn't like a couple sailors that were drunk coming home from the titty bar. I can't remember if this was on board a ship or not. I think it might, I really don't remember, but it might have been one where it was on board a ship. So it was a bunch of Navy personnel. That, you know, that should have had a lot more weight for their show than, you know, the science guy, you know. I'm sorry, you know.
It is not ready yet. I don't have enough spirit. Rethink your intent.
Almost forgot my chest. But oh my God, man. But so they did it, so I can talk about it, but it's like he threw all this shit out and just like, oh, look at me. Yeah, it's and you know, he didn't know, I don't know if he even knew the make of the camera that they used or anything. And it's like, yeah, here's my little theory. Pay me. Mark it as a hoax. And you know, and I'm like, and this is the thing when they were showing it, I think it might have been on Proof Positive from last night. They're like, well, yeah, this one here, even the U.S. military, the Pentagon said this was real. And then Mick West comes out, yep, bullshit reason, pay me. And they're probably thinking, oh my God, I'm really surprised that the Pentagon hasn't hired this guy. And this is the guy they're going to send to Congress to fucking lie to him or whatever. I mean, it's like, what the fuck? And, okay. Yeah, I just don't think I'm going to do this one. I don't want to fucking wander around forever. Oh, let's go see where we're at here. Okay. Okay, we'll go to number 4, because that's at 8. Okay, maybe we're gonna go do something else, because I thought I had done this one, but I didn't get my heretic chest or whatever. Ooh. But no, they're gonna have that hearing, and this is the part, you know, that this one, he's a Republican, he's from Tennessee. On most issues, I don't think he's a bad guy. I really don't. But again, I was completely honest with him when I sent that first. I go, look, there's a lot of issues we're not going to agree on. And I go, I think everybody in your party, whether they're voters on up, needs to be treated suspect until they either, you know, leave. And I was kind of thinking some of this, you know, like they either leave the party and create a new one. And there was somebody in the Republican Governors Association that was saying that was after Trump got the nomination. They showed it. It was a press conference, and he was a big fat dude like Chris Christie, but it wasn't Chris Christie. And he basically said, he goes, our first task is to make sure Donald Trump does not get reelected. He goes, we got to start, or doesn't get elected. We got to start on that day one. And he goes, and then the next thing we need to do is we need to create a new party for the fiscal conservatives. And what he was getting at is we got to get rid of the gun nuts and we got to get rid of the Jesus freaks. That's, I mean, it was code. That's what he was doing. But he's like, we got to get rid of these people. And The and they failed. They absolutely failed. So we saw, you know, and Kinzinger, you know, he's another one. There was somebody doing this to Liz Cheney. They're like, oh my God, Liz Cheney. I go, look, Liz Cheney is the same fucking person she was 2 years ago. It's just she draws the line. You know, bad policies, bad foreign policies, bad domestic policies, bankrupting the country. That she'll do, but she won't sell our country out to Russia. God bless her for that. I got to go to the bathroom. Hang on one sec. Oh. But I don't remember where we were at. But he talks a pretty good game. Like, I got to be honest with you, I'm being completely honest here. Usually you don't hear people talk like this until they're out of office. I mean that sincerely. Usually there's things I've heard him say. Usually you don't hear it. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. Usually you don't hear them say it until they're no longer in office, or they're like on their way. You know, like some of them will wait, but some of them, once they're a lame duck, once they're on the way out, and like, because they were sitting there. He had somebody from, I think, CNN, might have been News Nation, but he's been on a lot of the shows, and they were talking to him that the Pentagon has volunteered to look at it. He goes, yeah, he goes, they know how popular this is. They know that something's going to happen. And he goes, they smell money. He goes, you want my honest opinion? He goes, they smell money. He goes, they're willing to investigate it, and they're going to tell us, well, you just hand over some money and we'll get you an investigation. We'll print you up some paper, and then you'll have it. And he goes, they've investigated this long enough. He goes, they've investigated this for like 5 to 7 decades at least. He goes, they can just hand over the equipment. They don't need to investigate it anymore. And this is the thing, you know, and I just want to put this into some, like, this would have been my original union when I was working in Wisconsin before my plant closed, and I had to move to Indiana, and then, you know, things happened and I got sick and I can't work. But there were certain things, and this shit's wrong. I'll tell you right out, it's wrong. You had people in that union, people that were elected by us, and one of them got elected again barely. If you don't know this, somebody who had gone into management ran against him, and then this guy got into office when he was down in Indiana. This is a guy who had been in management. He ran for zone guy, and this shit was wrong. This shit was absolutely wrong. Like that plant, there's like a little thing called, I don't know what they called it up here, but down in Indiana they called it the work center. And our building was old. The building where our plant was, and it had sort of expanded, but they had a really nice front to it. Most of it wasn't used anymore. But this thing here had started as like, I think, a tractor plant back in the late 1800s or early 1900s. And it slowly morphed into a GM plant. But originally, they had one in the lobby. It was one of them old steel-wheeled tractors that didn't even have rubber tires. And it was made there. That was something that was made at this place. And he was making comments like, yeah, they sit up there on the third floor. You can't see them. He goes, why don't they have their offices down here on the floor with glass windows so you can see exactly? He goes, you'll see when they're sleeping. You'll see when they're fucking off. He goes, you put in a committee call and you don't see them for 3 or 4 days, you'll know exactly why, because you'll be able to see them fucking around, And, but what happened was, and he was another committee man, but he wasn't the guy running against him. And they jumped this guy in his car. It was one of the zone guy's butt buddies and friends. I shouldn't use that word anymore. I apologize. But it was one of his friends. It was another committee man. I don't think he was a zone guy, but I think he was on the shop committee. And but he did. He jumped the guy in his car. And then right when it was over, the fucking zone guy's yelling at people like, "Hey, nobody saw anything, right? Nobody saw anything." And and like I heard about it, but if I'd have been there, I go, no, I'm gonna call the fucking police and report it. Dennis Eberhardt, right? That's your fucking name. And then the other guy's name, I can't remember what his was. He was a boxer. I believe he was like a golden of boxer, like basically somebody that got herpes. And but that's a thing. But a lot of people get it. But yeah, he just jumped this guy in his fucking car. And then he barely won. I think he won by like 10 votes. But, and that should tell you how fucking bad of a zone guy he was when he almost lost to somebody that had been in management. That is just not something like down in Indiana, it was a little different story. But up here in Wisconsin, if you were someone that was in management, you could pretty much piss away any hopes of doing anything for the union, And, this is the thing. There was somebody, and it doesn't matter who it was. They were in a union shop, and they basically went into management, And they probably did it for the money. They probably did it because they figured they wouldn't have to work that hard.
Not enough spirit.
They found out exactly why you don't want to do it, because what happened is he was the low guy in management on the totem pole. This was a guy who didn't go to college. He'd gone to tech school. He did a lot. This is another thing. This guy here, he's a good guy. On certain things he was a really good guy. But he'd have these patents that they would give him of things that he had figured out how to do and they had implemented. And I asked him, because he had them hanging on the wall, and I go, well, do you get any money for these? He's like, no. Again, you're basically admitting that management took advantage of it. There's this shit that you did
I don't have
and
enough spirit.
you saved them all this money, and like at least at General Motors when you did shit like that, you usually got like you could get a lot. Like if you saved them something, what they do is they give you a percentage of it for the first year or something like that. And like one guy got fucked out of something because this would have been after 9/11, but he put in a suggestion that they take out the lights in the vending machines. Vending machines and pop machines, they didn't need those lights on. And then what, and they said something, and he goes, hey, look, you can use this in every plant nationwide.
I am returning to town.
Every plant in the building, every plant nationwide. He goes, that's going to save a lot of. Well, what they did is they just kept stringing them along and stringing them along and stringing them along. And then when it finally, and this is my opinion, when it finally canceled, then somebody that was friends with either union or management fucking rewrote it, re-entered it. Oh, and they were approved, and they got all the money for his suggestion. So I mean, there was sleazy shit. And this was back in Wisconsin. This wasn't down in Indiana. But he got fucked over. But at least if you had honest people in the union, you'd get paid something. I don't think, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I asked him right now, would you get paid anything for that? And he's like, well, no. And I go, oh, okay. And I don't know if he kept him up, but he just thought that was something. It's like, well, yeah, they got your shit for free and they didn't pay you for it. I mean, where's the fucking, Well, anyways, he ended up in management, and they just fucking harassed him. And I think they told him he was fired or something like that, so he just went home, And to be fair, he ended up getting, I don't know if he was making more money, but he at least got a reasonable paying job close to what he'd had for somebody else. Well, he went home, and then a day or two went by. I think they were, honest to God, my opinion, I think they expected him to come crawling back, begging for his job. So they called him in and they wanted him to come back in. So he thought, oh, they had a change of heart. Well, then he got in there and they figured out he wasn't going to kiss their ass. And they started fucking yelling at him again. And I don't remember exactly, but it was something along the lines like, hey, you guys called me back and I didn't ask you to send me or to bring me back. He goes, I'm not taking this. I'll leave. He goes, if you guys want to treat me right, pay me for my missed day, something along those lines. But he was letting them know, hey, you want to make this right, fine. But otherwise, I don't need this job if you want to treat. But again, I was talking to the guy's wife, and I made a comment. I go, well, yeah, he probably couldn't handle it. Because we had this at GM. You got reasonably nice people in there, but they weren't smart enough to not break the contract and keep management happy. And they got the same treatment. It was the same thing at GM. And she's in this fantasy land, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, though. And she never worked a union shop. But she's like, oh, no, they really liked him and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's, again, that's a little fantasy land. She was used to where she worked at, where management was, by and large, liked a lot by the people in management. She never tried to do some evil shit to them. But yeah, she was pretty well liked when she was at this non-factory job. But she didn't understand what union work was like. She had no fucking clue. And she was in this delusion. Oh no, they really liked him and blah blah blah. Yeah, okay, I don't really care. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I seriously doubt it. And but yeah, but this guy here, he's just like, yeah, we got this thing coming up. Oh, to get back to you, we had stuff going on with the union. And you go to them and you're like, cause there were old union people that we worked with. They worked in our area, and they go, hey, you need to get a hold of, this happened with management. You need to get a hold of the committee man and get this taken care of. And then, because there were just certain things. This is the procedure. This is the way it's supposed to work. And then I don't know if I had to go through the alternate committee man, the committee man, and then the zone guy. And what happened was when the zone guy out there, I go, hey, look, I got people out here telling me this is the way it's supposed to be, so you need to either write a grievance or get it fixed. And he made the comment, he's like, well, that's the way it used to be, and we still do it for the older people as a courtesy, but we don't do it for the, well, it's like, look, we got one union. We got one union, and it's supposed to be the same for all of us. I'm paying my share of my union dues just like they are. I'm supposed to get treated the same. You can't have, but we did. We had a 2-tier system in his fucking zone. If you were one of his buddies who bought him beer and all this other whatever the fuck was going on, then you got treated decent. But if you weren't one of his buddies, if you didn't have a certain amount of seniority, then he didn't feel like he had to do his fucking job. And I got a hold of the higher ups about it, and I go, hey, look, I go, you guys got to basically get him to start doing his job, or I'm going to basically look at start withholding my fucking union dues until he does. And this guy, he's like, well, your union dues don't just cover that, they cover this and they cover that. And the only reason I even got a hold of this guy, I would leave him messages at the, I think it was the International Union. I would leave him messages and never hear back from the guy. This went on for months. He wouldn't do shit. I think we even took that to the fucking shop chairman before we went outside the union, and he didn't do shit. He was basically never there. He couldn't do anything because if he started doing his job, management would expect him to show up for work. This is a guy who didn't work and he didn't exist in the plant. Like, you could not find him in the plant because it's like, oh well, yeah, hey, we got. And they're like, you talk to the committee man, it's like, hey, we need to see the shop chairman. Oh well, he doesn't come in here. We'll have to go to the union hall. Well, then you go to the union hall, say, well, I need to meet this guy. Oh, well, he's not here. Well, he's not at the plant. He's not at the union hall. Where the fuck is he? He's supposed to be working like the day shift hours, right? Because we went in on day shift. Well, that was the thing. If he actually started standing up to management, because they did that down in Indiana. The shop chairman had to show up. The zone guy had to fucking show up. They had to be in the plant. They weren't allowed to just fucking lollygag and disappear, but not the one we had at the time. Now, we ended up getting, like, the next election, that guy ran, and I don't know that we completely doomed him, but me and others let a lot of people know, and they could see it. This was the thing, there were a lot of them in the area, they were like, wow, this stuff should have been taken care of. This is a no fucking brainer. And when the election came up, might have been the second time, when the election came up, because they have them like every 3 or 4 years. I can't remember off the top. I think the elections are every 4 years. It's either the elections are every 4 years and the contracts every 3 years, or the elections are every 3 years and the contracts are every 4 years. And, you know, that's just the way it is. And, but people out there were seeing what was going on, so our shop chairman did not get reelected. There was also rumors going around that he let some management kids get hired as long as his kid got hired. Because I think his kid wasn't going to get hired, and so he, again, one of those things where you got a union that isn't doing its job. They're fucking the dogs so they can, you know, basically improve their lot. Kind of like the stories down where I was at, where we were heard that our zone guy was selling us out to keep his brother from getting fired. That was true. It made a lot of things make sense that I had gone through. That literally made a lot of things make sense. But yeah, he told us flat out, I go, oh, well, we do that for the older people but as a courtesy, but we don't do it to people like you. Well, then I should be getting a discount on my... And I did. I was arguing with that guy. He's like, well, you know, your union dues pay for your wages and they pay for your vacation time. And it isn't just that. And I go, then what you're saying is that I should get some of my union dues back. And he got real quiet. I go, so you're admitting that I should be getting some of my union dues back. So I go, when are you going to get these guys to start doing their job? And they didn't. They were fucking useless. But again, some of those people that were up there on that higher up union, they ended up, and this was, I might not have been the same guys, but people that were in those positions, they were pleading guilty to a shitload of felony crimes. So it was just not good. I hope it's better now. I doubt it, but I hope it's really better now. But that was the shit we were dealing with. Oh yeah, well, we don't have to represent you unless we like you, or you got enough time in, or you know, you're someone that's buying us beer on the fucking weekends or whatever. And but yeah, that was just fucking ridiculous. But yeah, that guy, he barely won. Well, then what happened was he wasn't sure he was, I think that was the election. He wasn't sure he was going to get elected. So what he did was he put in for this thing. I think I talked about something similar to this. But this was before the bankruptcy. This would have been the first couple of years. So this would have been like 2002, 2003-ish. In there, give or take a year or two. I was still on the door line when that happened. Well, what they did was they had what we called the medium duty line, and that was the big the SUVs. That's what we considered our light duty line, and then the three-quarter ton trucks that we made for like fire departments and stuff like that. And they could vary. They could have a lot of variation. It wasn't like us where the same frame came down. Like we either got a Suburban frame, a Tahoe frame, or God, I can't remember there were 3 different types of bodies we could get on those SUVs. These ones here had a lot of variation, because you might have one that came by that had a giant fucking ladder on it. You might have one that would come by that was going to be a water truck or something. I didn't work over there, but I have a little idea, and some of it might be wrong, but I'm at least giving you the gist of it. And that one was moving to Michigan. They had done it once before. They had moved that line to Michigan, and the people that bought it complained that the quality was not as good when it was not being built in Wisconsin, so it came back. And but it was finally leaving. It was going to I don't know what plant in Michigan, because they have more than one, but it was going to one of the Michigan plants. And what they were doing was they gave people, and it was basically by seniority. If you sign up by a certain date, it goes by seniority. After that, it become first come, first serve. But people could sign up to follow the work. So they could sign up, and they would move with the work to Michigan. And there were a lot of people that signed up for that. And then the people that didn't move, what they did is they were going to create what they call a jobs bank. This is all spelled out in our contract at the time.
I need spirit.
And what they do is they take the lowest seniority people, and they kind of treat them like summer help, where they just move you around and you're filling in and whatnot, this, that, and the other thing. Well, he signed up for this. What they did is instead of having us younger people in it, because it was probably going to last for like a year or two, and then instead of having us sign up for it and maybe losing our insurance or whatever, they worked out a deal with management where you could sign up based on seniority, and the people that signed up for it and got accepted, they kept their insurance, they wouldn't lose it, and they got paid a full paycheck. That idiot they had in Congress with the bow tie, he didn't know about this, or he'd have brought this up. But they did. They did that, and these people got to sit home. They got no overtime, but they got to collect a full paycheck. And then that way, the lower seniority people were not put into a jobs bank.
Strength fails.
You know, they were not put into a jobs bank where if you were out of work long enough, you could end up getting off insurance. And you know, it still is a thing where even if you got laid off and let go and you weren't getting your pay anymore, they had to, like, if you worked there for 4 years, they had to wait and try to bring you back for 4 years. I think it was a minimum of 5. But if you were someone that got laid off and you had like 15 years seniority, they would have to bring you back for like 15 years if they had openings. They wouldn't be able to hire somebody in over you, if I'm remembering it right. My team leader was explaining it. He showed it to me where it was in the contract, and but he signed up for that. And there was a thing in there that said, hey, once you sign up, if you are selected, and it went by seniority, you didn't get to turn it down. If it came to you, you were out. No excuses, no funny business, no bullshit. Well, he signed up for it because he was honestly not sure he was going to win. And he did not want to go work on the line. You know, fuck, he didn't even want to do his job as zone guy. He definitely didn't want to go back and start building trucks. At least that's my recollection of it. And what happened was he won barely. Well, then he started making a noise, and he got some of his buddies running around telling everybody, like, oh, he got fucked. Spirit. They're fucking him. They're not gonna let him be zone guy. And I looked at one of them, I go, how did he get fucked? I go, it was pretty clear on the paperwork that if you signed up and you got accepted, and he's actually not a bad guy. I've seen him since we left. He did not stay with GM. He left. But I saw him, he stopped by the one day when I was when I was home from Indiana, I was fixing my parents' mailbox. But I just looked at him, I go, how did he get fucked? I go, it was pretty clear that if you signed up for it and you got accepted, that was it. It was a done deal. You couldn't back out of it. Well, then he got kind of quiet. And then he was a little pissed, and then there were other people, yeah, he's right. That's exactly what was written on that sheet.
These bastards suffer for what they've
and
done.
He didn't know what to say.
With me? Here they are.
But, you know, that was the truth. You know, it's like...
Well, the ones in the skies have finally graced us with their presence. Cut them down! Those worms have come up from behind. Bloody adorable. They're trying to ambush us.
But that was the thing, you know, this is a guy, when it came to him, he wasn't supposed to be treated fairly. He was supposed to get extra special treatment. But when it came to us, because we had low seniority, we weren't even supposed to get what everybody else got. You know, and that was the thing. He couldn't give us what we deserved, because he had to save that for when he wanted special treatment. That's the way that shit worked there. And then the other thing, now when the committee man election came up,
I call that a win, eh?
He ended up, I think that might have been after I left the area, but we were basically letting people know, it's like, yeah, you know, the alternate, the committee man, and the fucking zone guy all need to go, because they might be working for management, but they're not working for us. And most of them fucking saw it. So that zone guy almost lost. I think we called him Krusty the Clown. He was the alternate committee man. He lost, and yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, the committee man election, they might have been different. I think it was all the same election. Well, that guy that tried to run for zone, I think he ran for committee man. And I think it was 2 different elections, but I'm not sure, because I know he ran for zone guy. I think it was that election. Either that or it was the one right before it. And but at some point he ran for committee man. Same guy from management. Well, he ended up winning the committee man one. Because that one there, it was more of just the door line, where like the zone guy, that was our whole zone. Where with the committee man, it was just the people in our end. Most of them knew the bullshit. And what was funny is that committee man, he did a lot of good shit for the ROs. I'm not going to get into it, but he went above and beyond. There were things that he did to protect them that maybe they didn't. You know, maybe that's not the way it was supposed to happen. But he worked his ass off and kept them protected.
427 crusaders who disappeared into the east.
When they found out, as the election was, it sounded like those of us rank and file people.
How will they react to the destruction of the city that birthed their crusade? Will they continue?
there were
west to
things
the lands
going
of
on that we
Westmarch?
weren't happy about. Like there was a lady, she had a different job than the ROs did. Well, she got a job where you got to sit around, and she didn't want to sit around all night. So what she did is she rotated with the ROs, or ARs. I think we called them ROs down in Indiana. They were ARs and up here. And she would rotate with them, you know. They would rotate on the good job that she had. Well, then something else came up after, because she covered that job for like a fucking year. And then down the road, when she got a different job, she was thinking, oh, well, I can, you know, hey, as long as I know all the jobs, I can rotate with them. Well, once she didn't have that good job anymore, they didn't fucking want anything to do with her. They're like, oh no, you go cover that. You're not an RO. And it's like, what the fuck, you know? And again, so there were a lot of people that were annoyed. Then, you know, they like.
I feel a bit crispy around the edges.
He ended up taking a different job. He was a good guy.
Let's go.
He really was. But what happened was they had all decided they were going to come in late. And I'm not going to tell that story. That one's pretty bad. And they really weren't all bad guys. But, you know, you had a case where, like, they rotated and you had one guy out of the lot. I think it was just one guy. They would fuck
I
things
need
up.
to go back.
They'd leave early. So the next person, they either had to bust their ass when they got here or shit was going south. Well, what they did was they tried to use it as an avenue to fuck everybody over. And there was one guy who got pissed off because they were coming out going, oh yeah, you guys won't be able to rotate every half hour. You'll be able to rotate on breaks and stuff like that. And but you can't rotate while the line's running. And he goes, I don't understand. What's the big deal? They go, well, you know, stuff's getting missed. And he goes, and because the one person, and she was a union person, and she was a good person. I don't want to give too many details, but she was a union person, and she worked with a management person, and they were like solving problems and stuff. They were like a team. And he heard the shit she was telling him, and he goes, hey, well then maybe you need to quit selling Avon in here and do your fucking job. He goes, we got 5 ROs on this side of the door line. And he goes, if you got one of the 5 that's fucking up, then I suggest you start holding him accountable and stop trying to fuck the rest of us over. And she got real quiet because Avon was not a union made product, and if he wanted to make a stink about it, he could have made a big deal about her selling that shit in there. But you know, that was the kind of shit that went on. Well, there were a lot of people that, you know, they weren't buying the shit like that, because one of those ROs came up to me and he goes, hey, just so you know, the committee man, he really feels bad about what happened. He wanted to represent you guys, but you know, he had the shop chairman and the zone guys stepping on his neck. And I go, well, he should have quit then. I go, he should have done his job. I go, maybe he should have reached out to the international union and told them, hey, I got some guys here I need to be representing. You need to remove these. And he couldn't argue with me. I go, maybe he should have been reached out like I was to the international union and telling them, hey, we got a fucking shop chairman who isn't fucking here. He's in management's pocket, so he doesn't have to fucking show up for work. And there were other people that heard me say this shit. And I go, that's on him. He made a decision. I go, I'm not voting for the son of a bitch. I go, the idea that he might represent me now isn't gonna fucking help. And, you know, but here's the thing, and this is where I'm gonna tie it into the UFO thing. I needed to give you a little bit of the backstory. I'm actually remembering this shit today. Tomorrow I might not remember it. But we had this guy, he was our safety rep. These are not elected positions. They're appointed by the shop chairman and I think the shop committee. And we had this guy. He had been a shop chairman before, and he was a safety guy. And he was another one. He would move heaven and earth if you were his buddy. But if you weren't his buddy, or if you didn't feel you had enough seniority, he just sort of fucked the dog on it. And what happened was, And I gotta be honest with you, I would probably have a slightly, I mean, some of what he did was unexcusable, and you just can't get around that. But, and I think the way the union handled it was bad. I think the union could have handled it better. And I don't know who, and maybe because it was two different employees, maybe management made the decision. I don't know. And I don't know if it's something that went outside our union. So maybe it was the international or the regional union that fucked up on it. To me, it was wrong, at least on some level. But this guy it wasn't his bailiwick. It was not a safety issue. It was an ergonomics issue. And the lady that was doing ergonomics, the one who had been trained for it, and it was her job, it was her responsibility, it definitely wasn't fucking his. She looked it over and she's like, yeah, there's nothing here, but I guarantee you, this is probably what was at the heart of it. This was one of his buddies. This was somebody that probably had a shitload of time. This was probably somebody who didn't want to fucking work hard, or at all. And he expected her to go in and make up some bullshit about ergonomics and get it fixed to make this guy happy. And she wasn't gonna do it. She wasn't gonna fucking play favorites like he does, like his buddy the zone guy did, and like the fucking shop chairman did, and like the fucking committee man did, and the alternate committee man. She wasn't fucking doing it.
Will feast on your pride as they devour your flesh. Enough. The dark power of
and what happened is now she was a black lady. He was incredibly fucking white and redneck.
Devour your flesh.
Well, he just started screaming at her and getting right in her face, and he was dropping the N-word. I mean, I'm not making this up. I really wish I was. And what they ended up doing, now, he should have absolutely been removed from his position. That, you know, you drop the N-word, you're gone. That's absolutely the way it should have happened. What happened was they removed her too, and I don't know. Now maybe she opened her mouth, but again, if anything after he used the N-word should have been just fucking swept under the rug. That's my opinion on it. And that isn't what happened. They removed both of them from their job, and they had to go back to work. You know, they couldn't have their appointed positions anymore. And then something came up, and this was the shop chairman's brother that I was friends with. He started making some comments, and he didn't understand what the former safety guy was doing. I don't want to use his name because, you know, just in case somebody watches it, it's done. I think he's either probably dead. As old as he was, he's either dead from the pandemic or he's probably retired. And any damage he can do, it's just there's bigger things to worry about than him. Well, what happened was, I go to him, I go, well, he's probably going to run for shop chairman against your brother.
Well done.
And he goes, he can't. And then he goes, because he was going to say he can't because he's got an appointed position. And then it clicked. He goes, he's not the safety rep. And I go, now you're on board. I go, yeah, he's not an appointed person anymore. And sure enough, he ran for shop chairman. And he came by to me because there were some things I was mad about because the zone guy, it was stuff that they should have wrote a grievance on and they didn't. And he came up and he goes, I'll write your, he goes, if I get in, I'll write your grievance. And it's kind of like what this guy was saying for the UAP, and I'm sorry it took so long. But it's like what this guy was saying with the UAP task force. It's like, oh yeah, the Pentagon, they want some money. They'll do a fucking investigation. They'll fucking do a report. Well, it's like this guy. You know, I don't care if you write my grievance or not. I want it done. I want it fixed. I'm tired of fucking management getting away with their bullshit. You writing a grievance and doing nothing is really probably worse than the person who won't even write, because at least without the grievance, it's like, well, yeah, but if you got somebody that's going to write a grievance and fucking bury it and nothing gets done, well, what's the fucking point of that? You know, it just don't make any sense. Hang on, we gotta go through here.
I cannot afford that.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I will be back as quick as I can. I might clean the cat litter boxes. I'm not sure. But I will come back. If I don't, then it's because I wasn't feeling good. But I'm not feeling too bad right now. I will try to come back and do a Minecraft stream. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some of those Ancient Alien episodes. And I will just kind of, as I'm playing Minecraft, I'll talk about them. But one quick thing I want to add, though, is they got those UFO conferences coming up. And I'll mention this in the other one, too. I tweeted, he's not on Threads yet, but I tweeted that Tim Burchett, representative from Tennessee, and I kind of asked him, because I was having a lightheaded moment, and the last couple days I've been kind of pointing out some stuff that, you know, if you go back to the old Republicans and you look at the way they broke the law and got away with it, you know, Ford pardoned Nixon, you had the whole Iran-Contra thing. The Republicans have gotten kind of used to breaking the law and getting away with it. Well, it just sort of dawned on me because I was watching a clip of him talking about the UFO hearings that are coming up. And it dawned on me, I'm like, well, wait a minute. The Iran-Contra stuff was illegal. Some of you might have to ask your grandparents about it, but you had the Reagan administration was selling weapons to terrorist or quasi-terrorist groups, and I think they were selling drugs, they were doing some illegal shit to buy weapons off the books because Congress had told them no, you can't give these people weapons. And there was a little bit involved in it, but it was like a triangle. They do this to get money to buy guns and then give them to these guys. Then they would do this again to get the money to buy guns and give them to these guys. And it was illegal because Congress had told them no. They weren't allowed to do it. And what happened was a lot of them were convicted. They went to jail. Well, then somebody went and argued in court. They go, oh, well, they were forced to testify. So it's implied immunity, or they were granted immunity by Congress. But somehow a lot of them got out of jail because they had gotten some kind of way, shape, or form, had been granted some kind of an immunity by accident of Congress. And I just asked them, I go, well, can't you guys, and they'll probably try and do this to Trump, but now that the idea has been put in their heads, but I'm just like, well, hey, you know, though I'm hearing through the grapevine, like Ross Coulthart and some other ones are saying, well, these guys don't have the security clearance in their committee to do this, so they won't be able to talk about a lot of stuff. I go, well, can't you guys grant them immunity like you did with Iran-Contra? I mean, those Iran-Contra guys were put in jail and then they had to be let go because they had gotten immunity from Congress. You guys are a co-equal branch. Can't the full House just grant immunity on these guys for whatever they want to tell you in an open session and just, like, let it out? Because I go, if you guys can basically grant somebody immunity for breaking the laws with Iran-Contra, you guys, on accident, you should be able to purposely grant immunity for people that are coming in because you asked them to come in and protect them and protect you. So, you know, because the thing is, they've probably got a real legislative reason. Oversight, I think, is the committee. It's one of the oversight committees. I think they've got a legitimate. Oversight reason when he's telling you we are positive that the Pentagon is blocking people from coming and talking to us. He goes, they sent these people before and they only knew two answers. Either we don't know or it's classified. He goes, they didn't tell us anything. You know, and they go, we're really getting sick of the stonewalling. So, and again, I put in there because I don't want to get nailed for suggesting it, but I go, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm asking, I'm not stating. Isn't it possible for you guys to grant immunity and let them come in and tell you everything, not just what your committee has clearance for? And I'm really hoping, I might be wrong, but on the off chance, because again, these guys broke the law. Congress was able to give them immunity so they couldn't go to jail for Iran-Contra. Well, these classification laws are just laws. Congress can amend them. Congress can amend them. They can repeal them. They can strengthen them. Well, they should also, in this case, be able to grant immunity to them. So I don't know, but what I'll do is I'll come back if I can with Minecraft, and I'll mention this again without the union bullshit. But I'll mention this again, and I'll put on some. I won't be able to see chat or anything, but I will put on some episodes of Ancient Aliens, and I'll talk about the stuff on there to give me something to chat about, keep me a little more focused. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a good day.